Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian. And today we have a wonderful show for you.
Wow, you got the rolling R's there and everything. That was pretty good.
I am a ringmaster.
Sound a bit like Bela Lugosi there, but close enough. That works.
I like it. I like it.
So in this season of Awesome Movie Year, we are talking about the films of 1941, and we are here at our animation episode for Walt Disney's Dumbo. And this is the fourth Walt Disney animated film following Pinocchio, or Snow White rather, came first, Pinocchio and Fantasia. And this is our third Disney animated film, I believe, that we've done an episode on.
But, and we've done a documentary, The Living Desert.
We did, yes. That was a live action film. I'm sure we've done some other things that were produced in some way or another by Disney over the years. But
Shaggy Dog PI.
What's the Shaggy Dog was a DA, not a PI, I think.
Right? Have we done any other elephant movies?
Larger Than Life with Bill Murray.
We did do
Operation Dumbo Drop.
Gus Van Sant's elephant, but I don't think there was an actual elephant in that.
It's on the poster. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe Gus Van Sant's Dumbo. That would have been something. But the Disney animated movies we talked about were both 90s films, The Lion King and Aladdin. The Lion King, our first ever episode. We were so young and naive back then.
Yeah. If I listen back to that one, that's the one I want over again. But, you know, that's always the case with your first time out, Josh.
So true. But we are here in our seasoned professional capacity.
Clearly.
Yeah, to talk about Dumbo. So although we think of those previous Disney films, not only Snow White, which was their first film and the first feature-length animated film, but also Pinocchio and Fantasia as classics, Pinocchio and Fantasia had been box office failures. They were expensive to produce and had not reached audiences the way that Snow White had. The war was going in Europe, and so it was more difficult to distribute films overseas. And so Dumbo was produced on a lower budget and in a simpler manner in order to save money and get Disney back on track. It was based on a children's book that had been brought to Walt Disney. And it worked out. It grossed $1.3 million on its budget of $950,000, which doesn't seem like a huge difference, but is profitable, and supposedly made a profit of $850,000. So I'm not sure how that math works, but we're not here for awesome math here.
We've never been sure how math works on this show, so don't worry about it.
True. We'll just keep that in mind. And of course, re-released many, many times over the years and has certainly made money many times over, but of course so have those earlier films, so they made up their losses eventually.
I always remember the Dumbo ride at Disney.
Yes. I do.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. The Dumbo ride the Disneyland did not exist, and the Dumbo ride did not exist yet, but I too remember the Dumbo ride, and maybe
I think there's two of them, right? Because there's the flying Dumbo, and then there's like the Casey train ride.
Oh, right. The train. That's true. So I was thinking of the Dumbo, the ride where you're actually riding on Dumbo. Yeah, exactly. And that does exist at all the different Disney parks.
When they insert you inside a Dumbo and you fly inside of the anus of a elephant.
You're not in his anus. That's not how the ride works. It's like you're on top of him, kind of.
Yeah, they cut his back out for human beings.
Anyway, Dumbo was a box office success, and it was a success critically and awards wise. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. It won the Oscar for Best Original Score. It was also nominated for Best Original Song for the song Baby Mine, sung by Dumbo's mom. It won an award at Cannes for Best Animation Design, and it was on the National Board of Review's top 10. So I guess, kind of a comeback. It's weird to think of Disney even early at this point needing a comeback, but in a way that was what this was.
You've mentioned now both that they simplified the animation and that it won an award, and I think it looks really good. Like, I like those kind of watercolor, almost picture book backgrounds, and the animation still looks good to me.
Yeah, and it was adapted from a children's book, so I haven't read or seen the book, and I don't know if that's anything that's widely viewed now. I'm sure if you buy your children a Dumbo book now, it's just a Disney one, but I agree. It looks nice. I mean, I think all of that early Disney animation looks beautiful, and there's a simplicity to it, even in the movies that were costlier and more elaborate, just because of the way animation was done at that time. And yeah, it looks beautiful. I wasn't super engaged with the story in this film, but it does look beautiful.
The story of the book, I think, was Helen Durney. It was a prototype for a roller book, which sounds like one of those like kind of flip books that maybe has some action to it, but I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, I don't
illustrated it.
I don't either. Yeah, Helen Durney, the illustrator, and Helen Aberson and Harold Pearl wrote the story for the book. And yeah, maybe you're right. I was thinking maybe it was like a literal roll that you kind of like unfurled with the different pages in it. Maybe, I don't know. There's I feel like we should have taken some time to see if there's images of roller books online. But either way, not something that
it looks like you're right. It's like you unscroll it or something. I just looked it up.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe one of those. I mean, Wikipedia calls it a novelty toy. So perhaps something that did not endure in the way that the story of Dumbo himself has endured.
Yeah. Rolling out a book isn't really effective. That just seems like it's making reading harder.
Yeah. And I feel like as a parent, right, you would just create a bigger mess, right? You roll out the book and then you got this long book on your floor and you got to roll it back together.
I don't get it, man.
Yeah. Well, it's, you got to try things. So it was also, Dumbo was acclaimed by critics. Bosley Crowther in the New York Times said, "Ladies and gentlemen, step right this way and see the most genial, the most endearing, the most completely precious cartoon feature film ever to emerge from the magical brushes of Walt Disney's wonder-working artists. Maybe you think we are barking a little bit louder than we should, but this is a sober opinion, believe us, which takes into account the pristine freshness of Snow White, the sparkling beauty of Pinocchio, and the rich, enchanting variety of the more recent Fantasia. For this time, Mr. Disney and his genies have kept themselves within comfortable, familiar bounds. This time, they have let their kindlier natures have more commanding play. This time, they have made a picture which touches the very heart of sentiment. It may not be the most impressive feature that Mr. Disney has turned out, but it certainly is the most winsome and the one that leaves you with the warmest glow."
I've been looking for a warm glow lately, so that works out. One thing I got to say, really well-defined characters right away. You know who each character is and what they're there for. And I know that's like, hey, it's a kid's animated movie for 64 minutes, but I think that really helps kind of craft the story.
Yeah, I mean, it is very... I feel like other Disney films, I don't know. I mean, at least Pinocchio, which I watched not that long ago when the wonderful remake was released, is also pretty clearly delineated. But I mean, there's some pretty harrowing stuff in those other films. And we do have the pink elephants on parade sequence here, but I don't know. It's not scary. And the characters aren't in danger in the same way the characters are in like Snow White and Pinocchio.
Oh, at the same time, they've really stacked the deck against this guy, right? So they take his mom away. The other elephants say he's not even an elephant anymore. He's got to do these stunts that are both dangerous and embarrassing as a clown. So, you think of Finding Nemo or something, right? Where it's like, look at all this crazy stuff that happened to this guy right away. And then so you have a rooting interest for this adorable big-eared elephant pretty immediately, Josh.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they do make him very adorable, which is going to make people root for him. But I guess I just think of in Snow White, the evil queen is literally trying to kill her. And even though, like you said, those stunts are dangerous, I don't think we ever get the sense that Dumbo is in danger of death.
No, but I mean, social alienation has only friends and mouse. I honestly thought they did a good job of stacking the obstacles up to like really be like, come on, Dumbo, we're all rooting for you.
Right. Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, it's not that he's in mortal danger.
Yes, there's not a poacher who's trying to come kill him from the circus or anything.
Right, which is totally a thing that you could imagine would exist in a movie like this and from this era in a Disney film. And I feel like there must be poachers in like The Jungle Book or one of those animal Disney movies from later on.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I don't either. But it seems likely that there's something like that. So Time Magazine, in their unbylined review, said, although Dumbo offers no startling innovations in animated cartooning, it is probably Disney's best all-round picture to date. Though it lacks the bomb-burst novelty of Snow White, its craftsmanship is far beyond that memorable fairy tales. Seldom has Disney articulated his characters so aptly. Dumbo is a most human little fellow, not bright, but willing. His co-star, Timothy, is an appealing caricature of a Hollywood agent with a heart. The Elephant Ladies' Aid Society is artful satire. Like story and characters, Dumbo's coloring is soft and subdued, free from picture postcard colors and confusing detail, a significant technical advance. But the charm of Dumbo is that it again brings to life that almost human animal kingdom where Walter Elias Disney is king of them all.
Full name, you know that he's serious, right?
Yes.
So, I like that he points out that this baby elephant doesn't reach the intelligence level of the adults in other films or something. Like, give Dumbo a break. Stork drops him off. He's immediately in a circus. They take his mom away. The elephants, abandon him. Like, what? He's got a lot to deal with right off the bat here.
True. Yeah, he is. I mean, he is a literal baby, I think.
Yeah, I didn't find him like, oh, were you ever like, this baby's dumb? No, you're just like, he's a baby.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think it's more just like maybe contrasting to other characters. Like Pinocchio is also essentially a baby, but speaks, is articulate, is naive, but is more of he's thinking things through. Whereas
he's
Dumbo,
not a baby, he's a real boy.
Right. But I mean, he's essentially a newborn is what I mean. Right. I mean, he springs to life as a boy immediately.
Do you think wooden figurines or puppets age like in different years than humans? Is that it? Like, this 1 year for a human is 7 dog years. Do you think wooden puppets are like have advancement of 10 years within a year or something? Or?
I mean, I think if Pinocchio hadn't become a real boy, he would not have aged. That would have been the point. He would have just been the same wooden puppet forever. It's like vampires. They don't age. If you're a child vampire, you could be 400 years old and you still look like a child.
Ooh, Lost Boys with Pinocchio. You've spun out a crossover here.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the character, right? In fact, I want to say I used to read Fables, the comic book that was very popular by Bill Willingham. And their Pinocchio in that was a character who had not become a real boy. And he was like a cigar smoking, kind of old man, but he still looked like Pinocchio. So someone else thought of it before I did.
Well, you just stick his nose in your ear and then start telling lies to mash your brains?
Well, no, he wasn't. I don't think he was violent like that, but I think he might have stuck his nose in another place because he was horny.
What place would that be, Josh?
I'm trying to remember the details. It was a very adult take on, these fairy tale characters. And it's a good series.
Also, I don't necessarily think that's going to satisfy those urges, putting your nose there. But
I think it was more just that he was a kind of a lech, he probably, I don't know if I don't remember. And let's remove ourselves.
I just think you're onto something though. Like maybe a Pinocchio dildo where, you can increase the nose size and spin around on it, whatever you want to do.
I guarantee you that there is quite a lot of online fiction related to these topics, and sadly probably about Dumbo as well. But
let's earn the explicit tag on this Dumbo episode.
Right, exactly.
Josh, if you were reading online fan fiction about banging out a Disney character, who would you want to focus on?
I think we need to focus on moving on from this topic because
you brought it up.
I guess I did in a way, and I regret that. So let's continue on with the Dumbo. Here we go. Cecilia Ager in PM said, Dumbo is the nicest, kindest Disney yet. It has the most heart, taste, beauty, compassion, skill, restraint. It marks a return to Disney first principles, the animal kingdom. That happy land where Disney workers turn into artists, where their imagination, playfulness, ingenuity, daring flourish freest, where, in short, they're home. Dumbo's the most enchanting and endearing of their output, maybe because it's the least pretentious of their works, the least self-conscious. It tries only to be a wonderful example of a form they themselves created, the fable expressing universal human truths in animal guise. This particular one is the most tempered of any the Disney studio has told. It will frighten no little children, no adults either.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because if I went into, well, actually, maybe Dave, that's the next one of your live podcasts, the Dumbo horror movie coming up.
I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll get it. I think there's another, because if Steamboat Willie and I think 1929 material just went into public domain. So we got 12 years to prepare for the Dumbo horror movie.
Yeah, I did find it interesting in this review that she's like, finally, Disney's gone back to the basics. And it's like, bro, I know you're referring to Steamboat Willie, but they've only made 4 features. Let them, and at least one of them starred Mickey Mouse. So let's just chill out here. So
yeah, I mean, I think she's talking about, because Disney had a big reputation for all of the shorts that they had made before this. So I mean, there is a lot of material to refer back to. But I mean, I think it makes sense that when making that leap from shorts to features, that Disney would have wanted to find stories that are more ambitious. And this movie, in fact, initially was meant to be a short and was eventually expanded, but it still is, as we said, a very short feature at only 64 minutes. And RKO, who distributed it, actually asked for it to be made longer, and Disney said that would not be a good idea. So, it's the opposite of saying, let's find a big, expansive story that justifies a feature film.
Yeah, I like that. I like that he was like, no, it's 64 minutes or 63 minutes, and that's what this requires. And I thought that made it such an easy watch. Not, you know what I mean? Like it all worked. I was never like, here's a segment that doesn't work. Why is this in here?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is episodic, I think. And so on the one hand, I feel like if they threw in some other segment, it could have easily fit and it wouldn't have necessarily dragged it down or whatever. But on the other hand, I, again, was not all that engaged. So I was happy for it to be short. And at least one review, I don't know if one that I quoted in another segment or one that I just looked at, praised the movie for being short and for not, adding things unnecessarily.
I agree with that, but I'm excited to hear about your hate of a baby elephant, Josh.
I didn't hate Dumbo the film or Dumbo the elephant. I feel like there are many other Disney characters who are much more annoying than Dumbo, I think.
Who's your most annoying Disney character?
I don't know. I mean, again, going back to Pinocchio, which because I had watched it a few years ago and I was looking up these various ones, trying to, remember like what my general position was on various Disney films. And on my Letterboxd review of Pinocchio, when I watched it a few years ago, I put that Pinocchio was an annoying little shit. So I think maybe Pinocchio or...
you just hate kids, though.
I do. But not just kids. I mean, the mice in Cinderella, they're incredibly annoying.
Yeah, I mean, you could throw Jar Jar Binks in there now.
I guess, but I don't think he's only retroactively a Disney character. So I'm thinking of Disney animation, really. They're animated feature films. Do you have a pick for the most annoying?
I don't off the top of my head, but right. I'll have to. I mean, you know how I felt about baby Simba, that little bitch.
Did you listen to that Lion King episode recently?
No, not at all. I just remember how I felt about him for being such a pussy. So
now who hates small defenseless baby animals?
Just Simba in my case. Not defenseless. He was a lion. That's the point.
I mean, he's a lion cub, though. Come on.
He just can't wait to be king, Josh.
Lion King cub.
Right. Yes. What about Simba versus Dumbo?
Oh, I'll take Dumbo all day in that one.
All right. Yep. So I think we have all seen this film. I mean, this is a beloved childhood classic. Jason, did you watch this as a kid?
I'm sure I watched it a number of times. I watched it with Scarlett, my daughter, this time, and we had seen it before, but it was really fun to revisit.
Does Scarlett like it?
Yeah, we both liked it.
That's good. And she's still like, she's not in the age bracket now of like, oh, this is for little babies.
I don't know if that's a thing anymore. It seems like this generation, these Gen Alphas, Josh, if you will, so these youngsters, they just accept all of it, right? They're like, hey, this is something cool. I grew up with it, and I also like Descendants or whatever, Inside Out 2, all that stuff. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice. I hope she retains that wonderful sense of openness.
I hope so too.
So, I also certainly watched this as a kid. I mean, I think I watched all those early Disney films, but I definitely got in that phase of like, this stuff is stupid for kids, because looking through the list of Disney animated movies, there's definitely this gap from probably around my teenage years where I was dismissive of those films. But certainly I had seen it a number of times. And it's the kind of thing that, you put on VHS and watch parts of, or it's on the Disney Channel or whatever. And I had watched it also the last time I watched it back in 2019 when the Tim Burton live action remake came out. And, that was, I'm sure, the first time revisiting it since childhood. And it's not great. It's just,
I like it.
All right. Well, and most people do. But, and I don't hate it. It just kind of underwhelmed me from a story and character standpoint. But Dave, did you watch this one as a kid?
I'm sure I did, but I, definitely haven't watched it since I was a kid. So it was fun to revisit.
Yeah. Do you hate baby elephants?
I love baby elephants.
Yeah, maybe we could get a little baby elephant love on one of your pop-up albums or something.
I would be excited for that. Yeah.
So you got to go find a baby elephant to record there. Do a little trumpeting from its trunk or something.
Ooh, that's a good idea. There's a lot of horns on the new album. So
right.
Scarlett did ask me if we could get an elephant as a pet. She seems to bring that up often, and I'm going to keep referring to Stampy.
I was just going to say, can you show her that stamp? That's on Disney Plus also. Maybe show her that. So, anything else you want to mention about the background of this film, Jason?
Well, we talked about kind of the simplification of the animation process, which I thought really worked well here. And I did find it interesting that they were like, those bombs, Pinocchio and Fantasia, we got to make up for that.
Right. Again, I think we now think of those as these like beloved classics. I mean, not just classics for Disney, but some of the most, landmark animated films of all time. But there was no guarantee. Disney was not this monolith at that time that they are now. But it's been, again, they've made up for it with all those re-releases over the years and home video and Disney Plus, etc. And the Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio remake, of course.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't think I saw, maybe I saw that one, but I didn't like the Guillermo del Toro one either. So let's move on.
Oh, I like the Del Toro one. And, Pinocchio is not, or didn't originate with Disney, of course. So there's multiple different versions from various filmmakers. I know Roberto Benigni made one a few years ago that people like. And the Zemeckis one is very bad, though. Don't watch it. It's no good. So we'll come back, though, and talk more of our general thoughts on Dumbo. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 1941, we are talking about Walt Disney's animated film Dumbo. And I am the curmudgeon here, I guess, who was not super into this film. It's not bad. It's just kind of dull. And it feels like a little series of shorts. It's Dumbo. Yeah, I don't think that really works.
So, Josh, I feel like you need to take a lesson from Sullivan in Sullivan's Travels when he and the other people on the chain gang go to the church and they enjoy the laughter of Disney films, the Pluto short with the black congregation. I think you need more of that spirit, Josh.
Well, maybe if this was a short like that.
It is. It's only 63
pretty much
minutes.
A short.
Well, but it's not a short film. That Pluto cartoon that they watch in Sullivan's Travels is probably like 10 minutes long. And I think maybe that would have worked better here, especially because the thing, spoilers for Dumbo, but
No!
the thing that we all know about Dumbo is that Dumbo is the flying elephant, which happens in the last 4 minutes of this film, and then it's over. And if you're going to make a feature film, and as much as the live action remake isn't good and the general project of those Disney live action remakes is bad, one thing that it does well is that Dumbo flies halfway through the film, and then there's more story. So, I mean, we have the brief crisis here where, right, the Timothy Q. Mouse gives him the quote magic feather, which is just not magic at all, but is a way to convince him that he can believe in himself and whatever. And he loses it. And then he has to realize that he has the ability to fly all on his own. And that's his whole character arc condensed into 30 seconds.
Hey, what's the big idea? Leave this Dumbo kid alone, huh?
I did like Timothy Q. Mouse. He's I do like the ringmaster mouse from Brooklyn.
I feel like another movie we covered. I feel like maybe Dustin Hoffman took some inspiration for Ratso Rizzo and Midnight Cowboy for him. Right? You could see Timothy Q. Mouse on Dumbo saying, "I'm flying here."
I could. It's a shame that Timothy Q. Mouse did not become like Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio, has become this major Disney character, but not Timothy Q. Mouse.
Yeah, so I disagree with you. I didn't mind that. The flying, takes place at the end. It is a very tight Act 3. I'll give you that. But I was in it with Dumbo on all of his travails and journeys, and I kind of liked it. I don't know, man. So I thought the female elephants, terrible, terrible human beings as elephants, so. I explained to Scarlett the Yiddish term yenta. Do you guys know what a yenta is?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're old gossipy, squawking ladies who, pretty much tear everyone down. That's how they reminded me of them there. So I didn't mind when they fell off the ball and had to put meat on their face to stop the swelling there. But I thought that was good. I thought, Timothy was, like we said, a very ingratiating character and one you root for. And I thought, I definitely felt badly for Dumbo's mom. You want to talk about an annoying kid? How about the kid who started that whole fight there, Josh, that got Dumbo's mom sent to the clink?
Yeah, not cool. Although, I mean, that kid's just a sort of rowdy delinquent. Really, we got to blame the ringmaster. Right?
Good job. That was good. You did it.
Because his response to that is to lock up the elephant and not to press charges against these young hoodlums who've destroyed his circus.
Well, I mean, what I did like is when Timothy Q. Mouse, who apparently at the end everyone realizes he can not only talk but negotiate deals for Dumbo, gets Ella, Mrs. Dumbo, her own cart, her own luxury car on the back of Casey train, and she can watch and hang out with Dumbo. That was a nice perk to the deal he set up.
Yeah, and I did like that. I feel like the cliche would be that Timothy Q. Mouse, especially with his demeanor, would be like some sort of shady character who would try to exploit Dumbo. And he's just really nice, and he just has Dumbo's best interests at heart. And I did like that about him.
Yeah, you just think because he's in the circus and he's got a Brooklyn accent, he's going to be a skis bag. But
right, exactly, you do. So no, I mean it's pleasant. It's inoffensive. Well, maybe not. We'll get to that. But story-wise, it's inoffensive. I just didn't engage with it really in any way. I mean, I think Dumbo is likable and is sympathetic because he's just kind of pathetic, but he's not. There's no dimension to him as a character.
Yeah. Again, I think it's hard to call him pathetic when everything's been taken away from him and he's just trying to get by.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, it's piled on so much that it's just kind of, it's like a Dardenne Brothers movie or something.
Yeah. I think if anything, you could argue hey, Casey Train gets his own song and we're following, and I like the animation, so that didn't bother me. But if you were hey, this could be a short, I think you could cut stuff like that down. But again, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. I mean, and the songs also are mediocre. I was thinking about this, that although Baby Mine was nominated for an Oscar, that this is one early Disney movie, I feel like every Disney movie from Snow White through like the early 60s, from that, what maybe that's like the golden age of Disney movies, has at least one song that has become like an iconic favorite that people know even if they haven't seen the movie. Maybe they don't even know it's from the movie. And this doesn't have that.
You're really taking it to Baby Mine. What was, oh yeah, never mind. I got it. So all good.
Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering, I forgot, always let your conscience be your guide I was working it out in my head what the Pinocchio song was. So.
Oh, okay. And When You Wish Upon a Star, maybe from Pinocchio. Probably
those are two iconic ones.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. I've shown my ignorance.
No, it's all good. So, did you like the music here, though, Jason? Did you like the songs?
I didn't mind the score. Baby Mine's not a great song, but I know, we've covered a lot of movies between 39 and 41 and, kind of this older animation. There's a lot of seepy, treacly kind of music back then, I'd say, and still to this day.
Right, that's true. But again, you look at Snow White, you look at Pinocchio. I mean, there's even When You Wish Upon a Star is certainly sappy and treacly, but it's a much better song. It's a much more memorable song.
Yeah, no one's playing Baby Mine when they win the Super Bowl and they say, you've just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
That is true. And there's upbeat ones. You got like Hi Ho from Snow White. People still think of that. They did a terrible new rendition of that in the live action Snow White remake that just came out.
That nobody likes.
No, nobody does, including me. So I feel like we got to talk about the racism.
Cool. Before we do that, should we just let Dave jump in and give his
Oh, yeah. I mean,
here?
what did you think of the score, Dave?
Well, I actually to get into the racism, I mean, this soundtrack is definitely a good place because Roustabout is like kind of the key element of that, right? But no, I mean, I like this movie. I agree with pretty much everything Jason was saying here. I mean, I think it's fun, it's sweet. I mean, there's certainly sections of it that are unnecessary, but then it's just so quick moving that it's like, sure, why not? I like how trippy it gets, like with that elephant song, and I love the animation. And as far as just the music is concerned, I thought it was good, just nothing particularly memorable.
Yeah, I mean, we should mention the Pink Elephants sequence,
which is great,
which is very creative and very clever, and I think recalls like what they did in Fantasia with all the fantastical sequences in there, and of course. I feel like it's amazing how often in early children's animation films that the characters get drunk.
Yeah, especially the kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. Especially the kids.
Smoking, yes. Drinking.
Right, that Pinocchio smokes. It starts with adult characters, the clowns. They're getting drunk because they're very excited that their act with Dumbo has been such a success. And then they go off to ask the boss for a raise, and they knock over their bottle of champagne, which spills into the barrel of water that Dumbo then drinks from. And the effects of the champagne on Dumbo are closer to LSD, it seems like.
As you said, he's a baby, and we don't know how alcohol mixes with elephants, so whatever.
It seems like, but Timothy Q. Mouse also has the same effect. He's not a baby, although he is very small.
I mean, maybe they laced it with LSD. Who knows?
That, you never know you can't trust those circus clowns.
That's true.
They got a stressful job. They need to calm down somehow.
So, right, there's this hallucination sequence of the pink elephants on parade, and it's very clever. It's very trippy. It's very crazy. I mean, I feel like almost if anything would scare small children in this movie, it's that part. Maybe it'll scare them straight.
I think so. You know what else I thought was kind of scary, though, was the train when he was going up the hill and he's like, I think I can. I think I can. I think that voice, it was like, even I'm a 44-year-old man. I was like, oh my God, this thing is scary.
I mean, that's definitely not meant to be scary. I feel like it's because it's like the steam engine going. That's why the voice sounds like that. But,
it was demonic. That was demonic.
Yeah, you never know. We didn't get like a close up of like the burning coal inside the engine with the fire going or whatever.
That would have been good.
Yeah,
right. It didn't eject the conductor, who may or may not exist. We've never seen. So
that is true. Yeah, there were no other anthropomorphic like objects in this film. It was just animals and people. But for some reason, the train is that way.
So, Josh, you want to talk about alleged racism? I don't even get it. Whatever. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, there's two elements that stand out with that. Dave, you mentioned Roustabout, the song where the faceless Black workers who set up the circus tent and the facilities when they come into a new town. They're singing about their work, and they're the only human characters here who don't have faces. They sing about how they can't read and they waste their pay, and it's definitely not a positive portrayal of African American labor.
Yeah, and every single worker is Black in that, on that railroad or setting it up. So yeah, that wasn't a good look. I'll give you that one. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah,
and then we have the Crows, which are more memorable and more talked about, who are voiced by the lead Crow, who is retroactively been named Dandy Crow
because his original name was
Jim Crow. Yeah, sure. And in fact, Bosley Crowther in his review in the New York Times refers to that character throughout as Jim Crow. So it's not like something where we pretend that was what that was definitely what it was supposed to be. But his voice is done by Cliff Edwards, who is a white singer. Although the rest of the Crows were voiced by Black performers, the Hal Johnson Choir, who were notable musicians and performers. They voiced the other Crows, and they are certainly based on like minstrel
stereotypes,
show styles. Yeah.
Their song is the best song in the thing, right?
Yeah.
So bad, not good. Something we've seen over and over again of this time period, right? And I go back to I would say one of the lost films of whatever the last 25, 30 years that's really good and really illuminates just how hurtful this type of thing is Spike Lee's Bamboozled. So I would recommend that. There is, Josh, when I was doing my research, a counter school of thought that claims that this is all positive because they say that, hey, these Crows are the most supportive and the only characters who help Dumbo achieve his goals. So that is a counter argument that I am not giving. I am just stating so you can have a discussion point with it.
Sure.
But from a film historian standpoint, there are definite defenders of the Crows.
Right. And that is true. And I think it's fine to sort of take that position. And it's not wrong that they are supportive of Dumbo. I mean, Timothy Hugh Mouse is the main supporter of Dumbo, of course, but they aren't portrayed in a negative light in the sense that they're not villainous, but they are certainly based around stereotypes. And audiences at that time would have been very aware of minstrel shows and Jim Crow and all of that stuff. So again, the fact that Bosley Crowther just casually refers to it in his review, and the character is not ever named in the movie. The Jim Crow name comes from like style sheets or notes or whatever that from the production of the film. So even though he's not named in the movie, this film critic instantly knew what his name was meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, Disney has a history of, look, I love the Aristocats, but that song, Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, like has a very offensive, like Asian beat to it, where they're just making up sounds that, and, look, I mean, obviously we are in a different time and place, but it's a tough thing to rectify or to come to terms with that. Like Disney, especially, and throughout film history, just has such a just a laissez-faire, casual attitude about this stuff.
Right. I mean, one of my favorite overall earlier Disney films is Lady and the Tramp, and that has the Siamese cat song, which is not good. But I think as much as it does reflect the time and place, I mean, we just talked about Sullivan's Travels and the way that the Black characters are treated in that film. And it shows you that it was possible and it occurred that films were able to depict Black people with respect, and it didn't have to be this way. And so, there's only so much we can excuse here.
Sullivan's Travels, I think when we talked about it, we had stated, that, Walter White, I think
Yeah.
was the NAACP secretary, was saying how finally, or what an exception to the rule. So
True.
very ahead of its time in that regard. It's, I'm not excusing anything, but like, it's interesting that like, this was like, use the word casual. This was just so accepted as, and we grew up in like the 80s and 90s. And even when I started comedy, there was a lot of ethnic humor going around that was not like the most highbrow or kind of sensitive at the time. And, we grow, we learn. And, I know Disney Plus just has like their obligatory, like some of these portrayals are out of touch with today's, morals and everything. But I don't know what else to say about this one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and when we were kids, certainly those disclaimers did not exist, and this would have been aired on TV. It was out on home video. Although there was at least, like Song of the South, the infamous Disney film, that was pulled from distribution way. Like, I don't recall it being available even when we were growing up.
So that was, one of the guys who played one of the crows played Uncle Remus in Song of the South here as well. So
yeah.
I mean,
Did you ever see Song of the South, Jason?
I liked Song of the South growing up,
Okay.
Zippity Doodah
Right.
and all the other songs. Like, but I was too young to understand, obviously, all the implications and dumbing down or bad stereotypes that were involved with it. I mean, but also remember when we were growing up, Song of the South was part of the Disney parade, and they probably had rides there. This again goes back to like Gone with the Wind, Song of the South. Like, let's celebrate something that needed to be annihilated, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, the Song of the South related ride, Splash Mountain, was just changed like last year, even though the film has been out of circulation for a while. And I guess I was just saying that I thought maybe it was not available even when we were growing up. And I don't know that I ever saw it when I was a kid. I remember Zippity Doodah, the song, but probably from one of those like Disney compilation cassettes or something rather than watching the movie itself. But I don't know exactly when it was taken out of circulation.
I mean, I honestly, and this could be me misremembering, but I think even on like those Disney like Sundays, they would always have like different movies and they would have like characters introduce it. And I remember Uncle Remus like in my head introducing stuff back then.
I mean, that's possible. All of these memories are fuzzy, of course, for us. And I feel like that's, it's just like talking about whether we've seen this film or not. It's like it permeates a sort of a childhood, but could you point to like a specific time or place where you sat down and watched this movie? Not necessarily.
Yeah. So shockingly, Disney, not the most sensitive at this time.
Right. No, definitely not. But weren't called out for it, we should say. This was perfectly accepted when it was done at this time.
Right. And that's why I'm glad you brought up the Bosley Crowther kind of review where it's just like, yeah, it's your friend Jim Crow over here, like that was the accepted attitudes of the time. And, it's good that we've hopefully, nope, we're still back there.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say like those disclaimers on Disney Plus, I think still exist, but they've softened them even with recent changes in perspective about these things government wise. And so, right. Hopefully it's not sliding back to the point where we're going to see the crows from Dumbo make a comeback, but wouldn't put anything past any of these people really.
Josh, here's a question. Like, obviously we have said what, the stereotypes, why they're bad, this and that. If the lead crow was played by a black person, do you think that would have changed this at all?
I mean, a little, but I don't think that that's like the other crows are played by black people, as we said, and it's still playing up those stereotypes. I mean, it's just like if you watch live action films and they have black actors, it's not just white people in blackface. They have black actors playing these very, very stereotypical
right.
Exaggerated characters. And right. Just because they actually, they cast actual black actors doesn't make it any less racist.
I mean, that's one of the great things about film, right? It's all there as a document of time and history.
That is true.
Mhm.
So I feel like, is there one more positive thing you want to bring up here before we rate this, Jason? Anything else you liked that we didn't mention?
I mean, I think we kind of covered it, but I just thought this was, really easy watch and a really easy character to root for. The friendship worked, and I was happy that Mrs. Dumbo got to live a happy life at the end.
Yeah, it does have a very nice happy ending for everyone, and I guess Dumbo kind of forgives and forgets with all his mistreatment.
An elephant never forgets, Josh.
Mhm.
Ah, so true. So I know. I mean, I agree. It's easy to watch. It just kind of washed over me as a bunch of nothing, really. But we want to rate this out of 5 magic feathers.
Sure. I gave it 3.5. I'm not going to excuse the bad stuff. This was kind of the same way I felt about Gone with the Wind. So 3.5.
I mean, I'm gonna give it 2.5 feathers out of 5. I just it just doesn't do anything for me, but it's fine. So I'm happy to not watch it again. Dave, how do you rate this?
I'm going with 3.5. I had a good time with it.
All right. Well,
What do you rate gumbo?
the food?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had it.
4.
That you're rating for gumbo, the food?
Four,
Yeah.
4 feathers?
Yeah. For, crawfish or whatever you want, andouille
Okay.
sausages. So, yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, I don't think that's relevant, but we'll come back and talk about the legacy of Dumbo. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 1941, we are talking about the animated film Dumbo from Walt Disney. And Dumbo himself has become, of course, an iconic Disney character. I mean, merchandise and all that stuff. If you see any sort of collage or montage of famous Disney characters, I feel like Dumbo is a key figure in that.
Yeah. And we've talked about all the different, aspects of it in Disneyland. They have, including a flying Dumbo in their nighttime fireworks show, in which the elephant flies around Sleeping Beauty's castle while fireworks are synced to music and they go off. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely, when I was a kid growing up in Southern California and went to Disneyland, I always loved riding the Dumbo ride. And I feel like the Dumbo ride was good because it was definitely one of the rides designed for smaller children. So you could kind of be up in the air and flying around, but it didn't go really fast or it didn't go all over the place. And so it was a good, like, safe, like, proto roller coaster ride for the kids.
I don't even think it has anything to do with a roller coaster, but I do understand the fun of the ride, Josh.
Yeah. And that was another thing. Going to Disneyland and riding those rides, I'm sure I got a little older and I was like, that's not fun and that's not cool. That's for kids. And I didn't do it anymore.
At what age did you turn back where you're like, hey, it's not about cool. I'm watching it from like a more adult film perspective now?
I mean, it probably was sometime in college, I would think, trying to be like more open to films and stuff like that. So it's a brief period, I guess. And I still probably wouldn't want to go to Disneyland, not because it's like for kids or whatever. Well, actually, yeah, that's probably the reason, because it's full of
It's also crowded
like
and
right.
expensive.
Yeah, it's full of literal children. So no, but I'm
and figurative children.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
in fact true. It's both of those I don't need to be around. So no, I don't want that. But I think, yeah, from, I don't know, 11 or 12 to 18-ish or something would have probably been the peak of being disdainful of that kind of stuff. I don't know. Did you have that experience, Jason?
I think it was not with the classics, but like I got so bored with, some of the stuff we've talked about in the 90s after The Lion King, when you get into like Hunchback and things like that, or it's just like, not for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole period of those that I never saw at the time that they were released. And I think when The Emperor's New Groove came out when I was in college, and I loved that movie and I went and saw that in the theater, and that was maybe part of like, hey, this is a kid's movie, but it's actually really entertaining for me, a cool college student to watch.
The coolest college student.
So true.
But I do think we're in a way back there right now, because like I really like a lot of the Pixar stuff. But as we've talked about time and again, these live action, heartless, terrible money grab remakes are just garbage. And I can't wait for them to stop.
Right. And the reason, and those movies are garbage because they're bad movies, not because like, oh, they're for kids. Like there were plenty Disney movies, animated movies, especially during the kind of post-Renaissance down period that were just bad. They're just not good movies. Like, and that's a different thing.
Right. I mean, Mufasa turned out to be a big hit, and it didn't track immediately, but it had a lot of legs. And I know kids love these things, but I just feel like there's really, I mean, I don't know if I want to use the word cynical or whatever, but I just don't. I just think they're, like I said, they're just quick money grabs, these things.
Yeah, no, they are cynical, and maybe they're slowing down a bit. I mean, we have a couple more coming, but I know they just put one on hold that they were going to be doing, so maybe they're going to reevaluate that. But
which one?
It's Tangled. Tangled. Yeah.
Right. Ugh. Yeah. Now it's expanding out to DreamWorks and all this and that, and I don't want it, bro.
I don't blame you. So there was, of course, the live action remake of this film in 2019, directed by Tim Burton, where, as I said, it really expands on the story a lot. Dumbo starts flying earlier in the film. So, or maybe not even earlier per se in terms of actual running time because it's longer, but there's more story after he starts flying. And Burton, at least, it's not very good, but I will say, as far as these Disney remakes go, at least Burton is expanding on the source material. He's bringing in new characters and new ideas and trying to do something else other than just literally repeat what was in the other film.
That's, paint by numbers on a lot of these. The Crows were not included in that. Understood. Don't understand why they would take Timothy Q. Mouse out of that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like there are no talking animals in it at all. It's all about the human characters and Eva Green as a sort of BDSM-looking acrobat. That's for the adult audience, I think.
Oh. Hey, what's the big idea?
So prior to that, there was a live action puppet based TV show called Dumbo's Circus that aired on the Disney Channel in 1985 and 1986. And when I was looking this up, like just, on Wikipedia, I thought, oh, that's an obscure thing that I've never heard of. And then I went to YouTube and looked up a clip of it. And it was one of those like rush of memories moments because it was like, oh shit, I totally watched every episode of this when I was a child.
I didn't have the Disney Channel as a 6-year-old, so I couldn't, but I'm glad that you got that flooding while back to you, Josh.
I did. I mean, and it was re-aired, even though there was only, I think, one season produced, they re-aired it all the way through into the mid 90s. And there was like a koala ringmaster character that showed up, and I was like, oh my God, I remember seeing that. And so there was several episodes on YouTube. It's not on Disney Plus. For some reason, Disney has not decided to preserve this particular show, but you can watch some of it on YouTube. I did not actually watch a whole episode.
Another thing Disney has not gone forward with, which I thought could have been interesting, was the Dumbo sequel, in which Dumbo and his friends navigate a large city after being left behind by a traveling circus. Dumbo 2 would also explain what happened to Dumbo's father. And that could have been interesting. I mean, it sounds like Babe 2, Pig in the City, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, but also we should say it's not like that was coming up in 1945 or something. And this was in 2001 during the period when Disney was churning out a lot of these straight-to-video sequels to their animated classics. And when we did our Aladdin episode, I think we both watched at least one of those straight-to-video Aladdin sequels. I watched both of them. They're not good.
They were hard to watch.
Yeah, and those were all produced kind of cheaply. And when John Lasseter from Pixar took over also running Disney Animation, one of the first things he did was cancel all of those that were in development at the time, which is why the Dumbo movie wasn't made. So even if it's an interesting concept, I feel like it would not have turned out well.
Well, a lot of things a lot of, like you said, of movies of that time period that were, hey, let's just do it cheap and easy and get that sweet video money didn't really do much for us as film people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hadn't, other than the Aladdin ones, I haven't really seen, there's Cinderella sequels, I think, and there was the Lion King 1.5 and stuff like that I never bothered with. And that was probably for the best.
I think Scarlett made me watch Lion King 1.5, and I either fell asleep or just was totally zoned out from it. It's not good.
Yeah, no, I believe it. So maybe Dumbo dodged a bullet there. We should mention Ben Sharpsteen is the director of this film. The supervising director is how he's credited, as well as sub directors, segment directors. I feel like it would be a little more clearly delineated in a modern film, but he's the director here. And he continued working at Disney through the 1980s, mostly as a producer and production supervisor on animated films. But then after a few animated films, he worked a lot on those Disney documentaries that we've talked about, including The Living Desert, the film that we covered in our 1953 season.
All these, if you look at the animation team, they're all very prolific and supervising director, Pinocchio, Fantasia, right? And this moved throughout the magical kingdom of workers, Mauschwitz, very freely, Josh. So
yeah, that's a fun way to call it.
I mean, that's what they call it, not me. I didn't make it up.
Okay.
So. Josh, a few things on the actors. Edward Brophy, Timothy Q. Mouse was the Falcon in the Tom Conway film series. So that was a thing. I don't know what it is, but okay. Verna Felton, who played Dumbo's mom, was also the fairy godmother, the Queen of Hearts, and the mother-in-law in the Flintstones.
Yeah, she was in a bunch of Disney movies: Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, also Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty. And both she and Edward Brophy were also live action character actors in various supporting roles. There's some dark things for some of these people. Cliff Edwards, the white performer who voiced Jim Crow or Dandy Crow,
and Jiminy Cricket.
And Jiminy Cricket, right? So he was flying high at this moment, and he had some hits as a musician known as Ukulele Ike, playing the ukulele, but had a long descent into drug and alcohol troubles and died unidentified. And Disney had to pay for his funeral after rescuing his body from an unmarked grave. So
yikes,
yeah.
That's rough.
And then Herman Bing, who you did an impression of there, who voices the ringmaster, was a German character actor who had a big career playing these kind of goofy foreign characters. But once World War II came in and wacky Germans were no longer in high demand, his career quickly dried up and he died by suicide in 1947.
That is sad, Josh. I guess saying that Sterling Holloway, who played Adult Flower and Bambi and Winnie the Pooh, is not really going to add much here. So.
I did. Well, he's another one like Verna Felton, who did a bunch of Disney animated voices. He does the voice of the stork here, who delivers all the little baby animals. And I immediately recognized him as the voice of Winnie the Pooh, because when I was a kid, my favorite Disney character was definitely Winnie the Pooh. So,
really? I feel like you were more of an Eeyore type.
Well, the Winnie the Pooh movies and shorts and cartoons, that was what I watched the most. I'm sure I saw this and all the other classics, but maybe just occasionally. But the Winnie the Pooh stuff I was all in on when I was a kid.
Oh dear. Oh bother.
It's not too bad.
All right, good enough. I got nothing else on this one, buddy.
Yeah, Dave, anything else you want to add here?
I don't like circuses.
Is it because of the clowns? Or?
Right, wait, is it
pretty much everything about it? I've always found them very off-putting.
Yeah, like the mistreatment of animals. I know
that's a factor. Absolutely.
That to me is a big
the clowns,
one too.
all of it. Yeah.
What about Cirque du Soleil?
It's not really that much into it either, but some of them are kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, I'm with you on the mistreatment of animals, but I'm sure I, as a kid, went to the Ringling Brothers Circus or whatever. Did you have a traumatic experience, Dave?
Not that I can remember, but then again, I'll find it one day, I guess.
Deeply buried. Jason, did you go to the circus as a kid?
Yeah, I went to Ringling Brothers, which I do remember not being happy with, watching the animals get whipped. I also went to the Russian circus, which was kind of this type of thing, like a Cirque du Soleil with a lot of kind of variety performers. So, and Scarlett and I go to Circus a lot, not for the shows, but for the rides.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Circus was the first thing before I lived here, when we took a family road trip when I was a kid, we stopped at Circus, and I remember enjoying that. They have some of the acts that they have at Circus are fun. I haven't been there in a really long time.
The buffet is the most crowded restaurant in the world, busiest restaurant in the world. So
in summary, Dumbo is all about the Circus buffet.
Yes.
Yeah, you could eat Dumbo at the circus.
That's Dumbo, and that is this episode of Awesome Movie Year. You can find our circus online and on social media.
We're at awesomemovieyear.com, Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and the Gram, the IG. Slide into our DMs, y'all. I'm Jason Harris Comedy or Jay Harris Comedy on all the socials. Go for Jason on Letterboxd. Tons of Eat This Comedy coming up, tons of trivia nights, and my residency at Jimmy Kimmel's is back.
You can find some old stuff from me at joshbellhateseverything.com. I am at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, at Signal Bleed on Blue Sky, and on Letterboxd. And if you're on Letterboxd and you watch this movie or any of the movies we talk about on the show, tag your review Awesome Movie Year. We would love to know what you think. And if you want to know what we think, you can just click on that tag and all of our reviews are there. So check those out as well. And check out our producer, David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our rowdy circus group of popcorn and puzzle pieces where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about on the show.
Jason, what's in our next episode?
Josh, it's my pick, but I don't know what you feel about this movie, but I feel like this could have been a Josh pick very easily. It's a great kind of screwball comedy called The Philadelphia Story.
I do enjoy it very much, and we'll talk about that. So tune in next time for The Philadelphia Story, and thanks for listening to Awesome Movie Year.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.